episode 6, starting to record on Anchor. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Independent Artist. I'm Nick Albanese. I'm recording this on Anchor.fm. It's super easy to use. Believe me, if I can use it, anybody can use it. It's fun and it's free. So if you feel like you want to do a little podcast and send it out to the world, check out Anchor.fm. So last week I left off on, it was the summer of 2001. I feel like I finally, at that point, built up enough in my resume, my acting experience, and I had my eyes set on New York this time. New York City. I saved up my money, the day job. I had the experience, so I was ready to go. And my plan was to stay at my cousin's house in Connecticut, rent a room, and then work in the city. That was my goal, my plan. And I was going to try to find work in New York City, do the whole day job, try to audition for things, do some theater at night, and I would go back and forth and stay in Connecticut. And he was like maybe a 40-minute train ride from the city. It was not far at all. And up until that point, through the late 90s, I was going to New York probably at least once a month. I was going back and forth all the time. I belonged to this group called GIA, the Guild of the Italian American Actors. I'm not sure if they're still around, and that's a real thing. And a great group, they had like workshops and parties and networking things. Their parties were great. They had a great Christmas party every year. I went a few times. And one year with Gia, we marched in the Columbus Day Parade in New York City as that, as that union, that guild. It was a lot of fun. Met a lot of cool people. Thank God it wasn't a cold Columbus Day. It was nice. It was a little chilly, but it was manageable. If you're walking, you keep warm, right? So, yeah, did a lot of stuff going back and forth, and so I knew the city pretty well. I know the city pretty well. So I decided, 2001, by the end of the summer, by September, I was gonna, get the ball rolling. And the weekend I pick, oh Lord, September 11th. It was the weekend before September 11th. I arrived at my cousin's September 8th on the Saturday. Well, actually, I arrived the Sunday before, so it was the 7th. On the 8th, I decided to head into the city early in the morning, and I went all around, everywhere. I put applications in for a job, any job. I would go to restaurants and clothes stores, toy stores, no matter what, all over the city. I must have put in close to 30 applications in that day. I went back in the evening to Connecticut. And then Sunday the 9th, I remember just chilling out. I didn't go back into the city. I just was chilling out in Connecticut, relaxing, watching movies. And then Monday the 10th, I went back because I had actually a couple auditions set up. So I went back in September 10th, early in the morning, and did some more applications, a couple other places. Then I went on 2 film auditions and a theater audition that day. And it was cool. It was really cool. Because I recognized a few people from GIA at the auditions, and they came over to me. And same kind of type of actor, Italian American, dark hair, husky. But they would let me know about another audition the next day. And that's why I see the difference. I don't know if it's still like that now, because I haven't been out there in years. But I remember being in California, man, hanging out with people, and then all of a sudden they weren't hanging out with you anymore. This is California. Because they just want to hang out, they see who you know. And if you don't know anybody, they go on to the next person. They want to latch on to somebody that knows somebody. I found it a very backstabbing kind of place. But New York, who has a reputation of people being jerks and no one liking you, I always found New York people friendly. And the actors were very tight-knit community. It's a big city, but, the acting community is very small, tight-knit. especially Italian American actors. And these actors would tell you about other auditions. In California, they wouldn't tell you because they don't want you going. They don't want you to show up and take the role. But in New York, these guys were very like supportive and told me about this theater audition the next day on Tuesday, September 11th. And I was like, you know what? I was working at a company in Smithfield, Rhode Island at the time, and I already took the Monday, the 10th off. And I was like, I can't take another day. I can't take another day off. They're gonna be pissed at me. I gotta get back, to work. And it was a good company. I had benefits. And it was a good paying job. Um, so I told the guys thanks, but I can't do it. I really had to get back to Rhode Island. So I left New York September 10th, 10 o'clock at night. Got back to my car in Connecticut. Jumped in the car and drove back to Rhode Island, and I got home about 1 a.m. Went to sleep, and then woke up, whatever, I think it was like 6 o'clock. I woke up and headed into work for 7. And then as we were working, it was, it's not important. It was a job where I made rubber molds for ornaments and trophies and stuff like that. Really cool job. Feel like you're creating things. And I made the rubber molds, and that would get sent to the guys that cast the metal in them to make the objects. So I'm working, and on the radio, I hear a tower. One of the towers gets hit in New York City. I'm like, what the? I was just there. That Saturday, I remember walking by the towers, looking up and seeing the towers. And then we were like, what's going on? But they thought, at first, remember, they thought it was an accident. A plane hit the tower. And then, just shortly after, another plane hits the other tower. We were like, something's going on. There's maybe 20, 25 of us in the whole company. We all ran in the front office where there was this one little TV, and we're watching this live. And I'm sure people listening now, you remember that, where you were when it happened, and the feeling you had. And then you're watching the towers fall on live television. It was a very surreal moment. It was very, I think the time after, like, people were just numb. I remember just being numb and like unsure of what's going on for like a couple of weeks. It was all those poor innocent lives taken. It was such a blow to our country. But I do remember everyone being so nice to each other, right? Remember that? Like for a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months, people were just so that kind of nice where a four-way stop, you get there and somebody gets there at the same time and they're like, you go, and then you're like, no, you go, no, you go. It was just, people had just like a respect and kindness for each other. And then after a couple of months, it started fading away. I wish we could have stayed that way. I don't know. And it seems like the last 2 years with the pandemic, too, has just been a crazy time. I've had that same kind of numb shock feeling as I did in 9/11. And I think that's when really things started changing, too. Personally, I feel after 9/11, things started changing in America, and maybe the world, little by little. And it brought us to the point where we are today. I think because people are so divided, and they shouldn't be that way. But I'm not going to get into that. I'm not a talk political radio show, but that was my take on how I feel about that. But the whole system, you can see it coming apart. Even like last week, it happened at the Oscars. It was a weird moment, right? Wasn't it a weird moment? And then Jim Carrey came on and talked about how spineless and heartless the Hollywood industry has become. Think about it. That's why this is the time for the independent artists out there. This is your time because I think the system is falling apart. There's so much opportunity now. So much. I know the streaming services are part of the corporate, but there's so many of them, and there's so much opportunity with the internet. And I think it's our time. This 2022 could be your year. I feel like it could be mine. You know, like I said before in another episode, you don't have to be in Hollywood. You don't have to be in New York. You know, you can be in, you can be down south, Carolinas, Georgia, New Orleans. You can be in Boston, upstate New York. You could be in Texas. You can film a project anywhere and get it out to people to see. So, independent artists, I get this is your time. I'm telling you. So after that happened in New York City, all those applications I put in, all those applications were worthless. The economy. Do you remember the economy just shut down totally in New York City? All Broadway shows were shut down. Nobody was really doing any productions, business. No one was going in to New York City. So it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. So I just stuck around Rhode Island for a little longer. Take a sip of my coffee. And what I did was I just kind of decided, you know what? I've been doing a lot of acting in shows, theater, the dinner theater. I was doing student films. I was doing a lot of extra work. So I decided, you know what? I want to write and direct and act in my own short film. So I said, let me do that. I'm going to try that out. So I ended up writing something, and then throughout the winter, and then by the following spring, 2002, I began planning on my short film. And I'll get into that in the next episode, what my short film was. It was called Vincent Vellucci's Story. And I got to think back. I'll think about it all week, how I came up with that idea. I think it started out as a monologue, a character. And then I decided to turn the monologue into a short film. I think that's what it was. But I have to go back in my memory banks this week so I can tell you about that. But yeah, that was my New York experience. It was a brief one weekend thing. I mean, I've been back many times after that. And actually, I did bring my one-man show, The Last Sicilian, to New York in 2018. I'll tell you about that in future episodes. Speaking of The Last Sicilian, if you're hearing this and it's not the end of April yet, April 30th, I'm doing one show only, one night only, and it's the only time this year I'll be doing my one-man show, The Last Sicilian, at the Artist Exchange in Cranston. It's a 7:30 show. And I have another thing I'll be announcing this week. So I'm gonna have a couple of things I want to announce this week, especially one major thing. So if you have me on social media, you'll see it. If not, if you're just listening to me on the podcast, next week I'll let you know what the announcement is. So I hope you all have a great week. Thanks for listening. Take care. God bless. Ciao.